Hello and welcome straight from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. And coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel threatens to annex parts of Gaza Strip unless the Hamas frees hostages. France opposes any form of annexation. The Sudanese army claims Khartoum's presidential palace has been retaken. Rebel Parliamentary RSF responds with a deadly drone strike. 3 journalists reportedly killed. London's Heathrow Airport power outage causes global flight disruptions which could extend over and beyond the weekend. Air India also affected, but so far no foul play is suspected. And India's External Affairs Ministry says India and the US are engaged in talks to resolve tariff-related issues, with both nations working towards a framework for a bilateral trade pact. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz on Friday threatened to annex parts of the Gaza Strip unless the Hamas releases the remaining Israeli hostages. He said that he ordered to seize more territory in Gaza, and further adding that the more Hamas refuses to free the hostages, the more territory it will lose. Katz also vowed to step up assaults using civilian as well as military pressure, pointing to the defeat of the Hamas. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister of France has opposed any kind of annexation by Israel of the Gaza Strip or the West Bank. Now, Sudan's army has recaptured the presidential palace in Khartoum from the Rapid Support Forces after a fierce battle. Army spokesperson Nabil Abdullah has confirmed the victory, saying that their forces destroyed the enemy's equipment and seized large quantities of weapons. The army has vowed to continue fighting until the militia is purged from the country. The presidential palace has been a key location in the conflict, with the RSF occupying it in April 2023. The conflict has killed tens of thousands of people, displaced over 12 million, and created the world's largest hunger and displacement crisis. The army's recapture of the palace marks a significant gain in the conflict and a setback for the rebel paramilitary.
A steadfast and resilient people, in a timeless heroic battle, our forces crowned their successes today in Khartoum, where they were able to crush the remnants of the terrorist militia of Dagalo. In the areas of central Khartoum, the Arab market and the buildings of the Republican Palace, a symbol of the sovereignty, pride and dignity of the Sudanese people, and the buildings of the ministries. Our forces, thanks to God, completely destroyed the enemy's personnel and equipment and seized large quantities of their weapons and equipment in the aforementioned areas.
But the rebel RSF has launched a drone strike on the presidential palace just hours after the military claimed to have recaptured it. A Sudanese army source has said 3 journalists have been killed in the Parliamentary drone strike on Khartoum's presidential palace. The journalists had been reporting for Sudanese state television when a Rapid Support Forces militia targeted the Republican Palace with a one-way attack drone. Meanwhile, Sudan's RSF has said it has killed dozens, as the palace battle is not over yet. Now over to the UK, where the Heathrow International Airport has been closed until midnight after experiencing a significant power outage due to a fire at a nearby electrical substation supplying the airport. The airport authorities have asked passengers to expect significant disruption over the coming days, as they do not have clarity about the power restoration. Around 70 firefighters have been tackling the blaze in the west of London, which has led to a mass power outage at Heathrow and in its neighbourhood. Meanwhile, at least 120 flights in the air bound for Heathrow have been diverted due to airport closure. Screen recordings from flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 early Friday morning showed planes avoiding London's main airport, which is also Europe's busiest and the world's 4th busiest airport. Now, the closure of London's Heathrow Airport is set to affect global aviation systems for days and set to cost tens of millions of dollars, experts are saying, posing questions about why better contingency planning was not put in place at this main critical hub.
Heathrow is the busiest airport in the UK and Europe. It's in the top 5 airports globally. It's the only hub airport for the UK. It's running at full capacity, pretty well all its normal planned opening hours. So to have it out of action for 24 hours is a massive impact for aviation, massive impact for the UK economy. We see particular impact from long-haul flights, which are already on their way to Heathrow and had to divert back to either their points of origin or numerous other airports. So some in the UK, some in Europe, some much further afield. The costs, again, are imprecise at the moment, but will certainly run into millions of.
Meanwhile, London's Metropolitan Police Force has said that there is currently no indication of foul play behind this fire at the electric substation that has closed down Heathrow Airport, causing travel chaos, announcing that the force's counter-terrorism command was leading the investigation into the blaze near Europe's busiest air hub. A spokesperson has said, and I quote, "While there's currently no indication of foul play, we retain an open mind at this time." So it's not been ruled out altogether either. Now, in the wake of the power outage issue, Air India has issued an advisory regarding the operations to and from London Heathrow Airport. Its London Heathrow bound AI 129 from Mumbai is coming back to Mumbai. AI 161 from Delhi has been diverted to Frankfurt, while all of Air India's remaining flights to and from London Heathrow, including AI 111 of this morning, have been cancelled for the 21st of March, which is Friday. However, flights to London Gatwick remain unaffected. Air India will keep passengers updated about resumption of operations as soon as they have more information. And moving on, tensions continue as Ukraine, Russia and the United States prepare for key talks in Saudi Arabia. The meeting, set to take place on Monday, come at a critical moment in the ongoing conflict, with efforts for a potential ceasefire and new economic deals on the table. We have more details in this report.
Monday marks a pivotal day as officials from Russia, Ukraine will meet counterparts from the United States in Saudi Arabia. Ukraine and Russian delegations will meet separately. The talks are expected to focus on halting strikes on critical energy infrastructure and exploring potential steps toward a broader ceasefire in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
At the next meeting, which will be held on Monday in Saudi Arabia, our technical teams will be there. As I understand it, the structure is that there will be a meeting between Ukraine and America, and then, as the American partner said, shuttle diplomacy, followed by America and Russia. Or it will be parallel meetings in one country on one topic.
You remember that we had quite a rich experience in implementing the Black Sea Initiative. We fulfilled all the conditions then, but the conditions in relation to us were never fulfilled. Therefore, of course, all this, as they say, on the shore will have to be discussed in details, and also the aspects related to the Ukrainian settlement, which the parties consider necessary to discuss.
Meanwhile, the European Union leaders have reiterated their support for Ukraine. But at a recent summit in Brussels, they stopped short of approving a major financial package for artillery purchases.
We decided in the conclusions to make the ramp up during the next 5 years in our own capabilities, but also to support Ukraine. All these instruments, the SAVE, more fiscal space, flexibilities on the use of cohesion funds, all of these give room to the member states to increase their support to Ukraine. Before this package, we have already a pledge of 15 billion euros from different member states.
Ukrainian President Zelensky had called for a 5 billion euro fund to help arm his country's forces against Russian aggression. Despite the hesitation on financial support, the European Union has agreed to explore joint military projects among member states. pooling resources to ensure that Ukraine receives more European made arms. France and the United Kingdom are planning further efforts to solidify a ceasefire arrangement. As military leaders from 30 countries met in London Thursday to discuss future steps, UK PM Keir Starmer emphasized that ensuring a secure and sovereign Ukraine will be a critical component of any ceasefire decisions.
It is vitally important that we do that work because we know one thing for certain, which is a deal without anything behind it is something that Putin will breach. We know that because it's happened before, and I'm absolutely clear in my mind it will happen again. Therefore, what you're doing here today is vitally important to peace and security across Europe and for our NATO allies. And of course, crucially, for the United Kingdom.
These diplomatic talks will certainly be watched closely by world leaders. Monday's talks could set the agenda for eventual peace in Ukraine, or at least set the tone for finding it in days, weeks, or months ahead. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
In an effort to secure US interests in the global minerals market, President Donald Trump has invoked emergency powers to ramp up domestic production of critical minerals. Trump has also declared that the United States will soon sign a deal with Ukraine for access to its rare earth minerals. In a White House address, Donald Trump said he signed an order to increase US production of critical minerals as well as rare earths and will very shortly sign a pact with Ukraine. Under the Cold War era Defense Production Act, the US is pushing to mine and process materials such as lithium and nickel, which are crucial for electric vehicle batteries.
And moments ago, I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country. And as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world. But in particular, Ukraine, we're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia. And one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth, and we appreciate that. And we spoke yesterday with, as you know, President Putin and President Zelensky, and we would love to see that come to an end, and I think we're doing pretty well in that regard. So hopefully we could save thousands of people a week from dying. That's what it's all about. They're dying.
Now, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that all nuclear power plants in Ukraine belong to the people of Ukraine, following comments by Donald Trump suggesting that the US could own and operate the country's nuclear facilities.
All nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. They are state-owned nuclear power plants. We do not have private property, energy, nuclear power in Ukraine. We have thermal generation, there is green energy, there is private partnership, there is completely private energy. This is absolutely clear and correct. But all nuclear power belongs to the state of Ukraine.
And Trump has issued a series of executive orders during the early days of his second term. In the latest move, Trump has signed an executive order intended to essentially dismantle the Federal Department of Education, making good on a long-standing campaign promise to conservatives. The order would leave school policy almost entirely in the hands of America's 50 states and local boards, a prospect that alarms liberal education advocates.
But we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work, and we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special.
Now, Germany's upper house of parliament on Friday gave the final seal of approval to a massive spending package aimed at beefing up the country's military and overhauling its infrastructure. The amendment was backed in the Bundesrat with 53 out of 69 votes in favour, passing the 46-vote threshold after it cleared the lower house on Tuesday. The package is the brainchild of the incoming government of the likely next Chancellor Friedrich Merz, whose centre-right CDU/CSU is in coalition talks with the centre-left Social Democrats after February's election. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India hits 1 billion tons of coal production. Prime Minister Modi calls it a proud moment. And the UN sounds alarm on glacier melt, designates 2025 as preservation year. Also, India submits its bid to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games in Gujarat.
इंडिया में जितने इंडियंस हैं उतने ही इंडियाज भी. So for the record, this is my India.
This is my Undekha. Unsuna.
Unbelievable India.
This is my favorite designer wear wala India.
My Sakhat Energy Hero India.
এই হলো আমার দুর্দান্ত রোড ট্রিপের ইন্ডিয়া.
So India, join the Waves Explorer Challenge.
Show us what makes you say for the record. This is my India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India's Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson has briefed the media on Friday. The MEA's spokesperson touched upon various issues, including the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage, to which he said that the pilgrimage will start in 2025. However, talks are still going on with China. While speaking on the issue of tariffs, the MEA spokesperson said that India and the US are in the process of taking bilateral trade negotiations forward, and that the country aims to enhance trade, address tariff and non-tariff barriers, and also is working on a framework for a bilateral trade pact.
India and the US are in the process of taking bilateral trade negotiations forward. The two governments are actively working to build a framework for the BTA, which would aim to expand trade, enhance market access, reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers. Government of India remains engaged with the US administration at various levels to arrive at a mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement.
While on Pakistan, the MEA spokesperson said that the world knows the real issue is Pakistan's active promotion and sponsorship of cross-border terrorism, which remains the biggest roadblock to peace in the region.
The world clearly knows that the real issue is Pakistan's active promotion and sponsorship of cross-border terrorism. In fact, this is the biggest roadblock to peace and security in the region.
Now, in a landmark achievement, India crossed a record milestone of 1 billion tons of coal production in the current fiscal year. Prime Minister Modi described it as a proud moment for the country, showing its commitment to energy security and self-reliance. In a post on X, the PM said, and I quote, "Crossing the monumental milestone of 1 billion tons of coal production is a remarkable achievement, highlighting our commitment to energy security, economic growth and self-reliance. This feat also reflects the dedication and hard work of all those associated with the sector." End quote. The United Nations has designated 2025 as the International Year of Glaciers Preservation to highlight the importance of glaciers and ensure that those relying on them and those affected by cryospheric processes receive the necessary hydrological, meteorological and climate services. These efforts underscore the critical role mountain regions play as a key source of global freshwater and ecosystem services. The theme of the UN's International Year of Glaciers Preservation 2025 is Glacier Preservation, which emphasizes the urgent need to protect glaciers and their vital role in the climate system and water cycle, focusing on the impacts of rapid glacial melt. Meanwhile, a UN report has warned that saving glaciers is crucial for the planet's survival, as all 19 global glacier regions have lost mass in 2024. The World Meteorological Organization has said that the past 5 years has seen the fastest glacier retreat on record, with 275,000 glaciers shrinking due to climate change.
2021 to 2024, the glacier mass loss over that 3-year period was the most negative 3-year glacier mass balance on record. And in 2024 itself, there were exceptional losses in Norway, Sweden, Svalbard, and the tropical Andes. And you can see that the rate of glacier loss has increased over time.
Now back home, India's acclaimed filmmaker Subhash Ghai has praised World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit, that's WAVES, calling it a powerful platform to showcase India's rich civilizational and cultural heritage to the world. Here's more in this report.
India's acclaimed filmmaker Subhash Ghai shared his thoughts on the WAVES initiative, calling it a powerful platform to showcase the country's rich civilization and cultural diversity to the world. He emphasized the importance of growth in both wisdom and economic strength, stressing that if Bharat is to become the Vishwaguru, these two elements must go hand in hand.
I really appreciate WAVES, initiated by our Prime Minister and our state ministers, because this is the only way we can go ahead, talking about our country, civilization, and the sovereignty to the other countries. If we want to make a place and if we want to be the Vishwaguru, to khali, it will not happen only the economic growth. It has to be a wisdom growth.
Describing India as an epical country, Ghai noted that Indians have always desired their stories to be told and retold, much like the timeless epics of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. He further added that the focus should be on telling more India stories. Expressing his disappointment, Ghai also disagreed with the notion that westernization equals modernization, criticizing the tendency to view Western content as the benchmark of modernity.
India is an epical country. We want stories to be told and retold, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Kavya, Vasudhatta. See? And we draw our morals from those stories and live our life. That's our civilization over there. So if you want to make an Indian content-driven country, then you have to focus on Indian content, right? Not a Korean or not a westernization. The youngsters today are thinking the westernization means modernization. And I don't agree with them. Because modernization means that first you dig your own heritage. Because today everything is available at AI for them. Now you have to grow their wisdom, their skill to dig our own past, our ancient stories, and present your own country, Bharat, to the rest of the world.
Ghai believes that if WAVES can bring more talent from rural areas by spreading education to every district and state, the country will witness a dramatic shift. He envisions that in the next 10 years, India will emerge as one of the top 2 countries in the world when it comes to art and culture. Shyama Mishra's report for DD India.
Now, crucial legislative business was transacted on Friday during the second half of the budget session in the Indian Parliament. The Upper House or the Rajya Sabha discussed the functioning and priorities of the Ministry of Home Affairs. And replying to the debate, Minister of Home Affairs Amit Shah said, after Prime Minister Modi came to power, India's government adopted a zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism.
मैं सबसे पहले कश्मीर की बात करूंगा मान्यवर। कश्मीर में हम सब जानते थे कि पड़ोसी देश से आए दिन आतंकवादी घुसते थे, या बम धमाके करते थे, हत्याएं करते थे। एक भी त्योहार ऐसा नहीं होता था जो चिंता के बगैर जाता था। और केंद्र सरकारों का रवैया लचीला होता था, चुप्पी साध जाते थे, बोलने में डर लगता था, कोई दुविधा भी थी, शायद वोट बैंक का भी डर था। नरेंद्र मोदी जी के आने के बाद आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस की नीति प्रधानमंत्री जी ने,
And in the lower house or the Lok Sabha, appropriations bills have been passed after a lengthy discussion on demands for grants. The House has been adjourned for the day and will be meeting on Monday. Now, India has officially submitted an expression of interest to organize the centenary Commonwealth Games in Ahmedabad, Gujarat in 2030. The bid, led by Commonwealth Games Association of India President P.T. Usha, underscores Ahmedabad's readiness to serve as an exceptional host city. This move aligns with India's broader ambition to secure major international events, including a bid for the 2036 Olympic Games. Hosting the Commonwealth Games would not only elevate India's stature in sports administration, but also bring significant economic benefits. That's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.